Indeed, I am one of more than 10 lawyers from Germany, Israel, and Palestine that support this complaint filed by Palestinian individuals and 3 villages in the West Bank. The complaint explains that the German media group Springer, through a subsidiary, operates the online platform on which settlers find land that is owned by Palestinians. The settlement movement in the West Bank started about half a century ago with Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories in 1967. The settlements are residential communities built by Israeli settlers on land that international law recognizes as Palestinian territory. Illegally occupied Palestinian territory. Settlements are primarily established by Israeli settlers, often supported by the Israeli government through subsidies, infrastructure development, and military protection. And there are also private organizations, including foreign donors, that fund settlement activities. Sometimes settlers act independently by creating so-called outposts, which even Israeli law initially deems illegal, but they are often later legalized retroactively. Land is often confiscated under pretext like security needs. Complex legal frameworks are used to justify land acquisition and settlement expansion. The justification for settlements often draws on ideological or religious claims. Many settlers believe they have a divine or historical right to the land based on biblical texts. Others frame settlements as necessary for Israel's security or as part of broader nationalist project, but all these narratives ignore the rights of Palestinians who have lived on this land for generations. The overwhelming evidence shows that Palestinians are not leaving their land voluntarily. Instead, they are being systematically coerced and forced out of their land through a combination of legal maneuvers, physical violence, and administrative restrictions. There are several mechanisms of coercion and forced displacement. For instance, Israeli authorities declare land military zones or nature reserves to justify its confiscation and then give it to settlers. Authorities also confiscate land under the guise of security needs or for the construction of infrastructure such as roads that are exclusively available for settlers. And then settlers also frequently engage in intimidation, destruction of property, and physical violence against Palestinians. Israeli authorities rarely prosecute these assaults. And there are also restrictive administrative policies for when Palestinians living in Area C apply for construction permits. Those are rarely granted. And then when Palestinians construct or expand their buildings, then that is deemed illegal and the constructions will be torn down. In addition, access to agricultural land is frequently denied or restricted by settlers or the military. Settlers also destroy crops, especially olive trees, which are also vital to Palestinian cultural heritage. And then there are movement restrictions, checkpoints, roadblocks, and settler-only roads that fragment Palestinian communities and prevent access to farmland, schools, and hospitals and workplaces. This isolation contributes to economic hardship and forces many families to relocate. The claim that anyone willingly sold their land in the past or today would dramatically oversimplify this complex reality, which is shaped by colonial frameworks, economic exploitation, and systemic violence. So today, acquisitions in the West Bank are entrenched in illegal occupation. The Fourth Geneva Convention prohibits any occupying power transferring civilians into the occupied territory. There is a Jordanian law from 1953 that also prohibits sales of land in the West Jordan territory to non-Arabs. Now, just in January, Israel advanced a bill to repeal that restriction from the Jordanian era. And this now is escalating questionable deals and forgeries. But the laws of an occupying power cannot legalize the taking of land by that occupying power. And the International Court of Justice, in its advisory opinion of 2024, reaffirmed that settlements are illegal. So what we see in the West Bank is certainly not a natural process of voluntary migration, but a systematic policy of dispossession that violates international law. Sure. From 1967 through 2017, over 200 settlements were established in the West Bank, according to the Israeli NGO B'Tselem. And since then, the number went up sharply, now approaching 300. More than 700,000 settlers live there now, one-third of them in East Jerusalem, according to the organization Peace Now and to the United Nations. So this settlement network makes the Palestinian state increasingly difficult to achieve. It has been widely criticized as a violation of international law, particularly Article 49, Paragraph 6 of the Fourth Geneva Convention. So the settlement expansion is more than a demographic or geographic issue. It undermines Palestinians' right to self-determination and exacerbates tensions in the region. The complainants in our case are 5 individual farmers whose land has been taken violently from them and their families, and 3 villages, Iskaka, Marda, and Taibe. They are in the Salfit and Ramallah governorates. Their population is between 1,500 and 2,300 inhabitants each. The rights to land, to property, and the right to water are being violated. Well, there are different scenarios. The transfer is often processed indirectly through settlement development companies. Also, individual settlers resell property after taking it or inheriting it. And to a lesser extent, also the Israeli Land Authority lists state land that had been confiscated. And also it is important to know that there are right-wing NGOs that play a role. They litigate to evict Palestinians, and then they list the vacant land on Judstein. Judstein is the name of that online platform. Judstein, Hebrew, meaning translated literally secondhand. And the properties are made exclusively available to Jewish settlers only. Listings for the Ariel settlement include clauses that exclude non-Jews. Many settlements have admission committees that screen buyers for their religion, and many listings say ideal for Zionist pioneers, or they use Hebrew terms like Judea and Samaria to appeal to Jewish nationalists. As the complaint explains, the Axel Springer Group owns an Israeli subsidiary. This subsidiary operates the listing signed Judstein, secondhand. And on that site, Jewish settlers find the land that was taken from Palestinians. So we argue that the German head company must take reasonable measures to avoid illegal property listings, which are part of the land rights violations. Axel Springer SE is one of Europe's largest media corporations. It's headquartered in Berlin, Germany, and it operates 2 main business segments. First, it is the most influential media company in Germany. Springer publishes major newspapers like Die Bild, Welt, and it operates various TV channels and online news platforms. And then there's the second segment of Axel Springer's business, that is the classifieds division, which includes online platforms for job searches, real estate listings, and other services. This division operates globally and generates substantial revenue for the Springer Group. Exactly, yes. Judstein is part of that business segment of Springer. It's the online platform that is operated by an Israeli company called Coraltel Limited. And according to public company registries in Germany and Israel, this is a subsidiary of the Axel Springer Group. In the group structure, there are 4 intermediary companies, and eventually, as the complaint explains, Coraltel Limited is wholly owned by the head company Axel Springer SE. Oh, certainly they know the business operations of their subsidiary. And our international research team even established that the German Springer company even controls Judge Stein's business, controlling, according to public reports and excerpts from the company registries. The legal basis for this complaint is Germany's Corporate Due Diligence Act. This is a new law that came into force in January of 2023. And this law requires large German companies to identify and mitigate human rights risks in their global operations. In this case, Axel Springer SE is accused of failing to fulfill its due diligence obligations concerning its Israeli subsidiary Coraltel Limited, which operates the Judge Stein platform directly. Yes, without a doubt, this German act applies extraterritorially. The German due diligence law explicitly provides that the business operations of a company's subsidiary are part of the company's own business operations if the parent company controls that subsidiary, even if the subsidiary is incorporated and operates anywhere else in the world, in any other country. International law is the bedrock of this case. The settlement enterprise on the West Bank violates foundational principles of international humanitarian law and human rights law, which bind all states, including Germany. And through the German due diligence law, corporations like Axel Springer SE must also respect these human rights. In essence, international law doesn't exist in a vacuum. It demands concrete actions like holding Judge Stein's listings, halting these listings to dismantle structures enabling apartheid and occupation. In short, Germany cannot claim to uphold international law or the rule of law while allowing its corporations to undermine those very rules. Legal consistency is not optional, it's a binding obligation. Well, enforcing the law would at least mean that expelling Palestinians from their home and land would not seem so appealing anymore. If you cannot sell or buy real estate online, it is much more difficult to transfer the property, and hence the taking of the land would slow down a lot, obviously. Judge Stein is the most popular listing site for finding real estate in the West Bank. When my team members in Israel checked yesterday, between 4,000 and 500 listings in the West Bank were online, depending if you include East Jerusalem or not. And every time a listing for stolen land is placed online and every time that land is transferred, the property rights are violated anew. All these listings and the land and the sales and resales of land are land rights violations. And this has to stop. Springer would not be ordered to remove existing settlements, that's clear, but their expansion would slow down considerably. Further land rights violations would be stopped. Also, German political leaders, including the Green Party-led economics ministry and chancellery led by the Social Democrats Olaf Scholz, remain conspicuously silent. Although the ICJ has confirmed settlements violate international law and human rights continue to be systematically violated in West Bank. And there is a widespread fear of Springer among politicians. Politicians' careers depend on the Springer media's goodwill. It dominates the German media landscape, as I said. So it takes some bravery to uphold the law. There is this chilling effect where politicians avoid addressing cases like this to avoid backlash in the media. Eventually, this silence does undermine Germany's credibility as a defender of international law and human rights. Not to this extent. You know, the German government has long been explicitly against the settlements in the West Bank. For many years, the German government has called for a two-state solution. for decades. Our foreign minister, Annalena Baerbock, in an interview in 2024 said that the settlements in the West Bank have to end in order to enable a two-state solution. And our Chancellor Olaf Scholz has said in an interview just in November that the settlements and the settler violence have to stop, period. And also in November, Germany voted in favor of a UN resolution that upholds Palestinian sovereign rights over their territory and natural resources. So I had thought that they cannot dismiss this complaint. Dismissing this case would expose blatant hypocrisy. If BAFA and the politicians in charge and their entire parties remain silent, they lose all credibility. They cannot do that. But so far it seems that I was wrong. And meanwhile, the violations currently intensify more and more. I believe in the power of international law to replace conflict with peace. Accountability and trust in the rule of law are essential for ending war and establishing justice. Legally, it is clear that Axel Springer SE must not contribute to settlers' illegal land grabs, as this violates international law. And it violates German law and even Jordanian law. Our team includes Palestinian, Israeli, and German lawyers who share the same view. Stopping corporate contributions to these crimes is the only non-violent way to achieve a just and sustainable solution. As a lawyer, I believe that legal tools are the most effective means for achieving peace. Dialogue at equal footing would be ideal, but until that becomes possible, we must uphold the law. Essentially, I decided to work on this case because I believe Germany must uphold human rights for all people and without fear or favor. Ignoring this case undermines Germany's credibility as a defender of human rights and international law. And don't think that this is a religious conflict. There are Jewish people, Christians, and Muslim Palestinians living in the West Bank, and not all settlers are Jews also. Some are Christian, Zionist, others are secular individuals. So this affects people from various religions. And aiding and abetting land grabs and forced displacement puts everyone in the region at incredible risk. German leaders should recognize that only by respecting human rights on all sides can we create a foundation for peace. Silence in the face of injustice is complicity, and it is time for Germany to uphold its stated opposition to settlements with action, not just words.